So currently you have Hoopalicious with a 133.7 on the medium tire, and BRL Perandi with a 133.8. Looks like those two are going to settle for those times. But BRL Williams is on an out lap. He's just now starting his hot lap. Let's ride along with this driver to see how he does through this lap. Coming down through turn 5 now, hard on the brake, get on the throttle as early as possible as BRL Perandi has retired. BRL Williams also running a new helmet this week to honor one of his friends that sadly passed away in the recent days. Our prayers are with BRL Williams, and we hope that he and his family do well with this loss. And he says that he's dedicating this race to his friend. So good to see the Racing Point driver here on track honoring a friend. And hopefully he can get a good lap time in here. It looks like he had a little bit of an issue there through the hairpin of 13, but he comes into the braking zone of 14. It looks like everything's still there on the car. He doesn't have damage anywhere, so that must have been just a little glitch on the screen. Comes onto the front straightaway. He is going to improve to a 135.1, but that's still over a second off of the lead, but that will promote him up to 5th place. And NZL Ryan, the big talk of this session, has not set a lap time yet. Will he come through and upset everybody? Meanfern comes through to go 9th fastest, but where is Ryan? Ryan has invalidated, so Ryan will not set a lap time for the session. So your grid will be Hoop on the pole, BRL Perani in 2nd, and Chandler in 3rd. Number 1 FinFan will round out the front 2 rows with B-Dunk behind him, and BRL Williams for company as he gets bumped down to 6th. Oz Formula in 7th, GSR Axe in 9th, Meanfern and Deer Hunter round out the top 10. Drivers not to set a lap time in this session. BRL Neymar really struggling on corner entry, losing the back end of the car quite a bit. Master Berserk looked like he was just invalidating. Didn't really catch him having any damage. RBM Mary had such a great chance for a good lap and had it blocked by number 1 FinFan as he parked it on the entry of 18 underneath the tunnel. So really unfortunate for RBM Mary. But again, the big talk of this session is Ryan not setting a lap time at all. So we'll have to see, is this indicative to what could happen during the race? Could we see somebody other than Ryan run away with it at the front? We'll be right back with the race coverage to see if I'm correct or if Ryan will march his way through and make this a 4-horse race. So now you can see it. Hoopalicious in the Red Bull leads them down into turn 1 for this formation lap. This should be a great race because Ryan is starting in dead last. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You heard me correctly. The Mercedes cars are well down the field. Neither of them setting a lap. So watch for this car right here to make his way through this field rather rapidly, which should be fun to watch. So we're going to be watching Ryan for the majority of this race as he makes his way through the field. RBM Marion, 13th, had her lap blocked by another driver under the bridge, so she did not set a lap. Master Berserk was unable to put it together in qualifying, so we see him toward the rear as well. BRL Neymar had a couple of spins. We'll see if he can remedy that in the race. Deer Hunter was struggling a little bit for pace during quali, but it looks like he should be okay now. Mean Fern did very well. He wasn't setting lap times. He was having issues, but he came in clutch and was able to put a lap in. Oz Formula in 7th did decent for himself to put his Renault up here closer to the front. BRL Williams, not bad at all in the 135s, getting himself into 6th place. B-Dunk in the other McLaren, as he's getting his brakes and tires warmed up, is in 5th with Num1 Fin Fan just in front of him. Both Alfa Romeos on the front. But at the very head of this pack is BRL Perandi in 2nd and Hoopalicious, the Red Bull, in 1st, as we see him now getting his tires all warmed up. The pit strategies for today are a 2-stop or a 1-stop, medium, soft, medium, or medium to hards. But knowing Tier 1, we're going to see a lot of drivers going medium hard. We won't see too many of them running a 2-stop strategy unless safety cars prevail and they come out, which it would not surprise me if they did. Watching for this man, NZL Ryan, to come around the final corner and line up. We will wait for the 5 lights to illuminate and then all 5 lights to go dark, and this race will be underway. And Ryan has now pulled into his spot. Hoopalicious waiting on the lights to come on, as are we all. There's no lights. Now we have them coming on. A very quick count up and a pause. And the lights are out, and we are underway at the Marina Bay Street Circuit. A lot of cars fanning out, some of them taken all the way off of the tarmac, off the asphalt. But it looks like everybody's going to make it through turn 1, 2, and 3 rather well. Looking down the grid, everybody makes it through, and Ryan has already picked up 2 positions back at the front. Hoopalicious leads them down Raffles Boulevard, as many of them still make their way down Republic and through the corner. Hoopalicious is now leading Perandi. It looks like everybody is pretty much going to stay in line here in the top 3. We look further back at these closer battles going on now. Num1 Fin Fan has lost positions. B-Dunk up to 4th, Williams up to 5th as well. Num1 Fin Fan down by quite a bit. RBM Mary, a big mover, already up 5 positions. I knew that car had pace in it. She just wasn't able to show it due to that blocked lap that she had. She's already on the back of the Renault and doing well, and it looks like she's dragged NCL Ryan along with her, but Ryan, a big gap between he and GSRX. There must have been some coming together between some drivers back here to cause this big of a gap. But RBM Mary now has GSRX making a move around the outside on that softer compound. That's going to see her down a position. Currently, Oz Formula in 7th with the McLaren, or excuse me, the Alpha Tauri right behind him as he's attempting to hunt down Num1 Fin Fan as they go under the bridge now. Coming up to 20 and 21, the final chicane on the track. Everybody's starting to spread out as now it seems we have a wreck somewhere. Oh, and it's going to be Ryan. Ryan and Neymar had a coming together, and they both went off the escape road there by the bridge. Not sure what's going on there, folks. I know that was the first lap of the race, but for some reason I'm seeing it's lap 3 and DRS has been enabled. So it looks like we have something going on here with the lobby. Not sure what it is, but hopefully that'll remedy itself soon. We still got Hoopalicious out front with BRL Perandi and Chandler not far behind him at all. as these three drivers attempt to pull away from the rest of the field. BRL Pirani trying very hard to catch up to the back of Hoopalicious, but Hoopalicious seems to have his car dialed in this week, doing very well across Anderson Bridge. No hiccups there whatsoever, while BRL Pirani had a bit of a lockup. But you can see further back is where it is all going down. Currently, from about 5th back, there's battles everywhere. BRL Williams just behind B-Dunk as he's trying to catch him and make a move for another position. He is falling back down to 6th. Currently only 2 cars out on track, not on the medium compound. You got GSR-X on the soft compound and Master Berserk on the hard tire. But it looks like NZL Ryan has decided to make a pit stop. He's over a pit stop behind Mean Fern, which means he must have had wing damage, had to go get that changed. And BRL Neymar 3 seconds a tow behind him. But Hoopalicious still leads out front, now has about a 9/10 gap, which is getting reeled in a little bit here now by BRL Pirani. Pirani seemed to be a little better through this sector of the track, but Hoopalicious is better once they cross the Anderson Bridge all the way through Sector 3. Seems to do a little better than the Renault driver. Chandler slowly losing time to BRL Pirani, and B-Dunk slowly losing time to Chandler. Meanwhile, BRL Williams right on the back of B-Dunk has an M1 Fin Fan for company there as well, with Aus Formula not far behind him either. We look toward the back. RBM Mary is only half a second behind GSR-X. Can she get up there and make a move on the AlphaTauri driver? We do have quite a bit of glitches going on here and some frame rate issues. I believe that's because the lobby is showing they're on lap 3, which they are now, but it's been saying they were on lap 3 since about turn 6 of the first lap. So hopefully the lobby has remedied itself and we'll be back to normal scorekeeping now. Not a whole lot to look at. This has become a bit of a procession now on lap 3. Everybody just kind of settling out in their positions as you see Num1 Fin Fan and Aus Formula go under the bridge where we've seen so many accidents throughout the years. Chandler Seda is now caught up to BRL Pirani by a couple tenths of a second. BRL Pirani still trying to get down to Hoopalicious so he can make a move on him, but Hoop able to keep the gap to about 1 second. So B-Dunk has just lost position to BRL Williams. I'm sorry I wasn't able to catch that. I was in the middle of trying to get something to drink to wet my whistle so that way I could keep bringing you the coverage of the Singapore Grand Prix for Breakout Racing League Formula 1 Tier 1. Ryan has just set the new fastest lap of the race so far. So Ryan, still your fastest driver on track, and he's made up already about 6 seconds on the back of Mean Fern, but he's still 26 seconds adrift on brand new medium compound tires. How long is he going to be able to take those? Are they going to go deep enough in the race to work for him is a huge question now. Can Ryan get back up into the points paying positions? Will there be safety cars? Everybody was expecting a safety car early on. I was talking to the guys in the Tier 1 chat. Everybody was expecting safety cars and multiple crashes. We've seen multiple crashes, but no safety cars yet. But I wouldn't put it past this track to bring one out mid-race. The guys start getting out on older tires while some are on new tires. They want to make the move stick while they can. They start to make mistakes. They try to put the car where it shouldn't be at the wrong moment. We might see safety cars during the middle of this race. Chandler is now caught up to the back of BRL Pirani quite a bit. He's brought it down to 5/10 of a second. We're right on board with the driver as he goes through turn 5 now and enters on to Raffles Boulevard. And is it just me, or is that rain? It's raining. It is raining, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody told me in chat that it was going to be raining for this race, but it sure does look on my screen like it is raining. right on board with another driver and see if I see it there as well. It sure does look like rain. It is getting a bit hazy. We may see rain here in a little bit. I'm not 100% sure if it's raining yet or not. I'll let you know in about 2 or 3 laps time. It sure does look like it's raining though. Apparently BRL Williams in 4th has now pulled away from B-Dunk a little bit. You can see him using a little bit more of that ERS charge he's got in the battery to try to give some extra brake horsepower to the rear wheels of that car to get it up and moving just that ever so slightly. Chandler is still right there with BRL Pirani, and Pirani's not really falling away from Hoopalicious either. Hoopalicious got the gap to about 1 second, and he has just maintained that now for about 4 laps. We go up now to look at Hoop. Hoop has 65% of his battery left. Meanwhile, BRL Pirani only has 25% of his battery left as he recharges some in the braking zone of turn 1. But Chandler sitting pretty with 83% of battery. And to be honest, I'm no longer thinking that it's raining. I'm starting to wonder if that's just something that a glitch I'm seeing on my screen. I don't know, it looks so much like rain. I'm really excited right now. I'm praying that it's rain. I'm about 100% sure now that that's rain. Yes, that is rain. We can see the raindrops forming on the lens now of the camera for our onboard shot on the Renault. Thank you very much for the onboard shot so we could see the rain, and you can now see the track surface is beginning to glisten. The track surface now has a glint to it, like it has a twinkle in its eye, but it's nothing good for some of these drivers because some of them are going to have issues now in the rain. We saw BRL Neymar earlier in the qualifying session really struggling for grip on exit of some of these corners. It's now only going to get worse unless he had already set his car up for a wet race. We'll see now who had the better setup in quali, because now some of the quali times that we saw will not be representative of their actual pace for the race, because now that it started to rain, everything about this race is going to change. How long is the rain going to hold off before they have to go in and jump on inners? Will they ever have to jump on inners? Because the rain is so light. Let's see what the lap time is. A 140.6, that's about 2 seconds off of the pace for a normal dry lap. So these guys are starting to deal with a little bit of traction loss, but still not enough to go in and put on any sort of a wet compound or an intermediate compound. Everybody's still out on slicks. Look back down the pack right now because Master Berserk all over the back of Deer Hunter. Deer Hunter in the racing point trying to hold off the Mercedes driver, but the Mercedes driver hounding the gearbox of the racing point. Now it's engine versus engine, Mercedes versus Mercedes. Really, it all comes down to the programming inside of that motor. Who did the better programming? Master Berserk now has DRS and he's got overtake on. He's going to get right up next to Deer Hunter. Is he going to be able to make the move? He's going to go very deep into the turn, and he's going to go wide. Deer Hunter going to take that position back on exit as they make their way now on to Stamford Road before they come into the very 90-degree left turn. Going down the straightaway now, Master Berserk now just has to hold steady here and wait a whole nother lap to try again. But this is where Master Berserk on that harder compound tire may have a bit of an edge. We do see sometimes that the harder compounded tire that you're running does do better whenever the track surface gets a little damp. And currently we still see the rain falling, so the track surface should be getting wetter every lap, making it a lot harder to handle these cars. We should see Master Berserk really be able to outmaneuver Deer Hunter since he'll be on the better tire. As now Aus Formulas, and number one FinFan has gone around. Number one FinFan with a big issue there on the straightaway between 21 and 22. Doesn't look like he has any damage, but he has lost a lot of time. And look at this huge time gap. As RBM Mary goes around the outside of GSR Axis, he was going into the pit lane. RBM Mary is about to have Deer Hunter right there for company, and Master Berserk, as Master Berserk and Deer Hunter still fight for position. We're going to watch this battle as, oh, he gets a little bit of oversteer there on exit. We'll see how he does this time as they go through turn 5 now and enter Raffles Boulevard. No real wheel spin from anybody, but DRS was not granted to Deer Hunter, whereas Master Berserk did get it. It's going to bring him a little closer. DRS will be deactivated once the track surface gets too wet. So obviously the FIA and the race director have deemed the track safe enough for the high-speed conditions of DRS. As we see, the car's really starting to just have to deal with some understeer. The driver's having to work extra hard now to keep pace in the car, slowing down a lot earlier. Look at how much slower they're running through here. Almost 15 mile an hour slower than what it was just a few laps ago, as Deer Hunter picks up a time penalty for multiple warnings. And now he has Master Berserk all over the gearbox. Master Berserk with a good chance to make a pass as they come to the front straightaway, if he can just hold station there behind Deer Hunter. We're going to keep following this battle because they're the two closest cars together on track. But how much longer will the track stay in this condition? How much longer will they be able to stay on the slick tires? We've already seen one car, GSR-X, go into the pit lane. I'm wondering if that was for some sort of a wing adjustment or getting a new wing altogether because he had damage. No one FinFan just picks up a time penalty now as well. Some crazy stuff going on. One thing I want to talk about is look at the gap now. Oh, and where's Deer Hunter gone? Deer Hunter off very wide. It looked like Master Berserk might have pushed him out there because Berserk never opened the DRS to try to go around Deer Hunter there on the straightaway. Might have just given him the common courtesy of, hey, mate, I'm really sorry. Come back out here and we'll try it again on the next straightaway. But he gets a very good apex and a very good exit in that 24 Mercedes. He is right there. He's going to go down driver's left now as we see them coming down the Raffles Boulevard into turn 7. Very heavy braking, but the Mercedes is able to get it done and puts the Racing Point down one position. Master Berserk now promoted up into P9 on that harder compound. Will he be able to pull away from Deer Hunter now? Will that harder compound help him out and do a lot of damage to the track surface, help him get a lot more grip than what everybody else is getting right now? Because currently he's 12 seconds behind the next car. So Master Berserk was able to make the pass on Deer Hunter going down Raffles Boulevard in Sector 1. And just after one lap, he's already a good way 2 seconds clear of Deer Hunter, only 3 seconds behind the McLaren of RBM Mary. How much pace does RBM Mary currently have? Is she struggling in any way? Let's ride on board as she deals with the rainy conditions down into turn 7. You see the car has a bit of understeer, but very good management by the driver now coming into this very slow sector. Let's see if she deals with any wheel spin. Just a little bit on exit, but short shifting just to try to help manage that. Gets on, gets onto St. Andrews Road very well with very little wheel spin. So the McLaren driver having a very safe drive, but losing a lot of time to Master Berserk, who's on that harder tire. I speculated that it'd be the faster tire to be on right now, and it looks like it is, as he has gapped Deer Hunter by 3.5 seconds now, and has caught up to Mary by over 2 seconds in the last lap alone. He's now got her to within 2 seconds flat, now under that 1.9. So the harder compound looks like it's the better tire to be on at this moment. We're going to be coming up on pit stops soon. Everybody cannot stay on these mediums for much longer, especially with all the sliding that they'll be doing with the rear end. The rear end breaking out a lot, not having a lot of grip in these conditions. will be cooking those rear tires. So how long until they decided it's time to come in for a new set of tires, and what set of tires are they going to go with? We still have not seen race control issue that DRS has been disabled. So obviously the FIA and race control still believe that the track is in a good enough condition for the high speeds of DRS, but for how much longer will that last? Looking back up front, it's still par for the course. BRL Pirandi trails Hoopalicious by 1.1 seconds, and Chandler trailing BRL Pirandi by just over a second, but BRL Williams seems to be the faster of the of the four up front. He's been able to catch them. He left B-Dunk and Oss Formula behind after he made the move on the McLaren, and has now ran down Chandler and is caught up to him. Is the new helmet going to bring him some better luck today? He's had a lot of bad luck in the last few races with contact between he and his teammate, things that were just out of his control, nothing he could do about it. But now it seems that he's got a good car, and he is going to be something to be reckoned with today. He has won in BRL Formula 1 Tier 1 before, but he hasn't done it yet this season. Can he get his inaugural win of the season right here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit? We're going to have to wait another 20 laps to find out, but it seems that out of the top 5 drivers, he is the fastest. And now BRL Neymar has retired from the session. And now we see that the pit window has opened for the intermediates for a two-stop strategy. Still waiting, though. DRS has not been disabled to my knowledge. Let's see if BRL Pirandi gets DRS. Yes, he is going to have DRS as they come onto the straightaway. So it's still not wet enough for race control to turn it off. That means it's not wet enough for inners, in my opinion. You don't get on the treaded tire until the DRS is disabled, and now Pirandi looks like he wants to make a bit of a charge as he gets a bit of wheel spin on exit of turn 7, goes down Nicole Highway, now out of 8, down Stamford Road, through 9, entering St. Andrews Road now, only 6/10 behind, as now Ryan has made a pass for position on Meanfern. Ryan has Deer Hunter directly in front of him. Deer Hunter really going to be a sitting duck now with Ryan right there. Number 97 Mercedes is not messing around. He is coming through the field, and he's doing it in very cheeky style. He goes to the inside. Deer Hunter really just gave him that move, wasn't going to contest that. And now both Mercedes drivers are in the points paying positions. So Mercedes, both of them started 13th and 15th. Now they both run in points paying positions. So Mercedes doing very good for their drivers at this point in the race. But back up to the front, BRL Pirandi is closed in on Hoopalicious. Is Hoopalicious beginning to deal with oversteer and loss of traction? Let's ride on board with BRL Pirandi and see how the Red Bull is reacting through these corners. He's still using a lot of curb, even though the track is damp. We'll ride on board as they go down the front straightaway, see what happens. Oh, and he gets a bit of oversteer as he goes through turn 2, which really compromises him into turn 3. He's lost a lot of time on Hoopalicious. He's not going to have DRS now as they come onto Raffles Boulevard, but Chandler in the Alfa Romeo behind him will have DRS. This will help Chandler get closer to the back of the Renault, but can Chandler hold it there? BRL Williams really caught up to the back of them. He was within a second and a half, and he seemed to have lost quite a bit of that time, so unsure of what has happened there. Number 1 FinFan is the first person to go in and pit, and he is elected to go for the hard compound tire. So currently race engineers are not expecting it to get wetter in the race, not expecting the track to get more damp than it is now. So this could turn out to be a banger of a race with the track conditions that we currently have and the tire wear that this track produces. The tires are going to be worth almost nothing by the end of this race. To be on these hard compound tires for another 18 laps is going to be a very hard thing to do, as we see Master Berserk still on his hard compound tire that he started the race with. He's right next to RBM Mary trying to make the move. Oh, don't go in there too wide. You're not going to make it. He makes the move stick, and he is going to get the Mercedes in front of the McLaren. They're going to come across Anderson's Bridge right now and come down into the hairpin of 13 and then turn very hard left onto Esplanade Drive. with the McLaren in tow behind the Mercedes. Is the McLaren going to try to make a move? Yes, it will. All the way down to first gear. There is contact at the apex. Oh, and Master Berserk gets a lot of oversteer and a lot of wheel spin. This is bringing Ryan right up to the action. Ryan is right there with him now. We'll ride on board with Ryan as he's now right on the gearbox of his teammate. Let's see who blinks first. Who's going to make the move? Is Ryan going to go after his teammate and try to go by him, or is he going to wait and allow his teammate to make the move on the McLaren in front as the McLaren struggles for front end grip? A lot of understeer on that car. Oh, as RBM Mary tries to duck for the pits right as Ryan's trying to make a move to the driver's left. Very close to having contact there, but Ryan's going to get 2 for 1 right here in one straightaway. And he's going to really hop the curb there. Not afraid of the curbing at all in this stage of the race. Goes all the way down to first gear to try to get the car slowed down, then immediately short shifts all the way to third to try to get all the traction he can. Short shift to fourth. Now let's ride on board with Master Berserk. Can he get close enough? He is deploying overtake, and the DRS is open. Can he get close enough to his teammate to make a lunge? Will he do it? He's getting very close, but not close enough. Can he pull the same move that he made on RBM Mary last lap and get the overcut out of this corner? No, he's not going to go for it at all. He's going to ride behind Ryan. But back up toward the front, Chandler has decided to pit. He's got himself on the hard compound tire now, whereas BRL Williams and BRL Pirani and Hoopalicious, our top 3, have elected to stay out on this tire. But it looks like BRL Williams is really starting to struggle now. He pushed very hard to try to catch that lead group of Hoopalicious, Pirani, and Chandler, but once he got there, it seems as though the car is just stalled. Maybe a lot of these guys are starting to deal with really, really hard understeer. You see now the top 3 making their way into the pits. We'll ride on board with Chandler. Chandler's going to be the car to watch here as he goes through 20 and 21. Will he be able to overtake these guys and get the overcut done? Looks like he's really struggling on this tire. You get a lot of understeer and very little traction out of the rear end. He's really got to try to get these tires into their temperature window. Looks like he's going to get the lead of this race, though, other than Oss Formula being out in front of him, as Chandler takes the lead through the pit stop strategy. So he has made the undercut work. He got onto the hard compound before everybody else did and was able to put in a better lap time than all of them while they were still running slow. He was able to run faster on a new hard compound tire and make those 2 overtakes work in the pit lane. So good on Chandler for having his heads up thinking always turned on. That switch is always on in his head, for making very split-second decisions like he just did there to pit early and basically take the net lead of this race. Oss Formula in the Renault is currently 6 seconds in front of him in the lead, but he has yet to pit. So that Renault will pit either this time by or next time by and will go for a new set of tires and will make his way to the end of the race on most likely a set of hards for about 15 laps. But looking back, Chandler has Hoopalicious right there. Hoopalicious had led this race all the way up until the pit stop. Now he's got a car to follow. How will he handle himself in the traffic? Will he be able to catch up to Chandler and make the move? I don't know. Chandler's very good once he gets out front at defending and keeping cars behind him in a very easy manner, so we'll have to see how these 2 drivers manage the rest of their race. This race is really spread out, though. Looking down through the field, Mean Fern is right on the back of Deer Hunter as he gets a very good exit. I believe that they're down at St. Andrews Road coming into turn 10. And Hoopalicious has just passed Oss Formula. Oss Formula has just now decided to go into pit lane. And let's see what kind of tire he's going to box for when he comes out. Meanford's still in the Alpha Tauri right behind Deer Hunter as these 2 struggle in the conditions. They're over 40 seconds behind the leader, or excuse me, they're over, well, hold on. Now the delta's changing. I believe they're about 40 seconds behind the leader, but everything really changing on the leaderboard while Master Berserk and Oss Formula in the pit lane. Looking back up toward the front, though, Chandler has company. He has Hoopalicious right behind him. Hoopalicious really just needs to settle in, figure out how his car feels on that hard compound tire, and then make the move on Chandler. Hoopalicious was robbed of an easy win a few weeks ago while we were at Spa. He had a great lead. We thought it was going to be his time to win, and then out of nowhere he disconnected, and Chandler was able to steal that win from him because Chandler was able to run at full speed while Hoopalicious AI was running at about half throttle around the track, and then decide to pit and really compromise him. But Hoopalicious looks as though he is really on a push. We're going to follow along with this battle for the lead until something else starts to happen somewhere else in the pack. But currently Hoopalicious all over the back of Chandler. Is he going to stay behind him and just try to push him into a mistake, or will he actually try to make a move and make a pass and go around the Alfa Romeo? We'll have to wait and see as they'll come up to the front straightaway here. 2 corners to go until the next DRS zone, and we'll see what happens as they go down the front straightaway. DRS is still available, even though it's raining. DRS has opened on the back of the Red Bull, but he's not going to get close enough down the front straightaway to make a move. Chandler will retain it for now. But what's going to happen when they hit Raffles Boulevard? Will Chandler be able to hold on to that position? Hoopalicious with a big bobble there on exit of turn 3. Really cost him a little bit of time, but with DRS, he was able to pull right back up to Chandler. Not close enough, though, to try to make a move as they go through turns 6 and 7, and now through 8 and 9, making their way down Stamford Road toward 9, and now they merge onto St. Andrews Road. What a beautiful name for a road. What a beautiful golf course if you ever had the chance to go over there and play on it. But Chandler currently still leading this race through a brilliant pit strategy, making the undercut work while Hoopalicious and Pirandi decide to go standard strat. But it looks like they are really coming into a group of their own. These three have separated themselves from the rest of the entire field. Currently, BRL Williams in the Racing Point, the only driver that could offer any sort of competition to the front three, is over 5 seconds behind that group. And everybody, now that I've just noticed, has time penalties. If you look on the left-hand side of your screen at the leaderboard, you'll see next to every driver there's a black and white flag. So every driver is now running this race with time penalties to contest with at the end of the race. How will that affect our finishing order? Will it affect the podium? We're going to have to wait about 14 laps to find out. Sorry, I suck at math, but there's a lot of action happening here on the front straightaway as 2 cars have DRS trying to hunt down the Alfa Romeo. The Red Bull doing everything it can to try to get a good exit here out of turn 3 and get a good run through 4 so that way he can try something out of 5. But it looks like Chandler's able to develop a little bit more of a gap. But BRL Pirandi now all over the back of the Red Bull as he gets a little bit of oversteer on exit at turn 5. And he's going to lose some time there. He's going to go very, very deep into that corner with a great run through the apex of that turn. Now riding on board with BRL Pirandi, as you can see, the heavens have closed their gates. There's no more water falling on the racing surface. Currently no rain falling on the racing surface. That means that the track is going to dry up rather rapidly with 13 cars running around here at speed. The racing line's going to dry up rather well. In fact, it looks like it's almost completely dried up. These guys having no problems putting the power down now, it would seem, on exit of some of these much slower corners as we have a caution in Sector 2. It looks like that's going to be GSR Axe, who has had an issue there into Turn 7 on the entry to Nicole Highway. So that's not going to help his race at all. Hopefully GSR Axe can continue to push and hopefully catch some sort of a break, maybe a safety car or something like that. But another thing to talk about, NZL Ryan has made his pit stop one lap after his teammate did, and he is elected to go for the medium compound tire for the rest of this race. Is he going to be able to catch Aus Formula or number one Fin Fan to try to make up a few more positions in the closing 12 laps of this race? Currently back up toward the front, Hoopalicious has just smacked the wall. Just so I caught that on camera, we barely heard the Red Bull tap the wall on exit of the corner onto St. Andrews Road. They make their way across Anderson Bridge now into the hairpin of 13. On exit, you do get DRS granted to you here by the Formula One gods, but it's not enough to really catch up to the back of that Alfa Romeo. You have to use every bit of it that you can, though. BRL Pirandi right behind Hoopalicious as well, so all three of these drivers, again, have separated themselves from the rest of the pack and are doing everything that they possibly can to keep it that way. Currently, your biggest mover of the race is going to be NZL Ryan with a net gain of 6 positions so far. You can see it on the left-hand side of the screen that he has gone up 6 positions. His teammate has gone up 3, and RBM Mary rounding out the top 10 points-paying positions in her McLaren has made her way up to 10th with a net gain of 3 positions. Up at the front, Chandler with a net gain of 2, and BRL Williams with a net gain of 2. Biggest loser of the race so far is going to be GSR-X, really struggling with his AlphaTauri today, down in the last running position with BRL Neymar having the DNF today, not helping out his championship standing whatsoever. But GSR-X currently running in 13th, 9 seconds adrift of Deer Hunter, and doesn't really seem like he has a whole lot more that he can extract out of that car. Really struggling today as she gets a large amount of oversteer on exit there. We'll look back up toward the front now to see if anything has changed. It has not. Hoopalicious still 6 seconds off of Chandler, with BRL Pirandi right behind him by about half a second. And BRL Pirandi getting closer and closer to Hoopalicious as they go through 20 and 21, the last chicane on the track. Now it's 5/10 that separates the two, but Chandler would have to pull away a little bit further from the Red Bull to try to help BRL Pirandi to try to get enough momentum over the Red Bull of Hoopalicious to make a move stick. But currently, Hoopalicious is able to hold on to that position by the grace of DRS and that overtake button. You can see the minute deployment of the overtake button taking place there on Republic Boulevard. And now you see Hoopalicious just touching it there for about 2 seconds and letting off of it, just trying to keep that car moving with as much pace as possible down the straightaway. You can see that the racing line is drying up very well. You can see just a little bit of dampness still out there on the track, but it's offline. So as long as these guys stay on the racing line, they're going to have plenty of grip as we see them now go through 11 and 12. One of the very tricky sections of this track. This track could really be broken down into about 5 portions instead of 3 on difficulty, because Sector 1 is pretty difficult, and then Sector 2 is probably the most difficult on the track just because of 10, 11, and 12. Those very quick turns that are so slow through there. Very easy to make large mistakes. Hoopalicious started this race in first, and by no mistake of his own other than pit strategy has lost the position to Chandler, and he still has BRL Pirandi hounding him, as Pirandi is much better through Sector 2 and 3 than the Red Bull right now. The Red Bull is making up all of his time through Sector 1, and then Pirandi gains it all back again throughout 2 and 3. We see all of them going way out there on that yellow paint, trying to get as much entry curve as possible to keep momentum in the car. The racing line is definitely dry now, as you can see them. You can see them getting back to full throttle in mere milliseconds of coming off the apex of the corner. Is he close enough this time? Will he go for a lunge? No, he holds station in second yet again. We look back in the pack at the battle for 7th. Now Ryan has caught up to the back of the Renault. Will Oss Formula be able to hold off Ryan, or is Ryan going to make easy work of the Renault? Ryan has been moving very well throughout this race. You can see him get a very good exit. Here he comes. The Mercedes is pushing down the straightaway. They go through the curve of 6, coming up to the braking zone of Raffles Boulevard. And he will make that move stick, and he promotes himself up into 7th. And now 11 seconds in front of him is number 1 FinFan. Can he catch the Alfa Romeo driver with a mere 9 laps to go in this race? Number 1 FinFan down 2 positions from his 4th place on the starting grid. Finds him in 6th, running behind B-Dunk in the McLaren, who's currently 7 seconds adrift of BRL Williams in the Racing Point. And this Racing Point had a lot of pace early on in the race. Not sure where that pace went. He was right there catching the leaders, really pushed hard with a 4-second gap to make up. He made that up and was very close to positioning himself to make a move on one of the front 3, and then the car just seemed to fall flat on its face. The car slowed down tremendously. Not sure what's happened down there with this Racing Point, but this Racing Point not showing the pace that it was earlier on in this race. Back up front, BRL Pirandi right on the back of Hoopalicious again as they come down through turns 9 to make their way onto St. Andrews Road, coming down to the braking zone of 10, now into 11 and 12. Flick the car to the right, really hope that it sticks. Flick it to the left, hope it doesn't wash out toward that wall, and then get on the brake pedal nice and easy. You can see there in the bottom right corner of the screen the very small amount of brake pressure that was applied to get into that corner. If you apply much more than that, you're going to see the back end swing around on that car and see yourself most likely losing a position, if not just a little bit of time if you're lucky. But again, BRL Pirandi's so much better through Sector 3 than the driver in front. He's right on the gearbox. Hoopalicious really holding him up now through Sector 3. If he could just clear Hoopalicious, BRL Pirandi could have a good chance at getting up to Chandler and trying to make a move on Chandler as well, because he's just so much better throughout Sector 2 and 3. But there's nowhere to pass here until you get up here at the front straightaway. You have one chance here, and then you go through 2 and 3. You get another slim chance right there on exit of 3. Go through 4. Now your biggest chance is on the exit of this turn. Get a great drive on exit and see if the driver in front doesn't. Try to get as much of a run as you can to get down into the braking zone of 7 before you turn on a Nickel Highway. But he's just too far back. There's not enough time for him to get close enough to the Red Bull to make a move. But everybody, especially BRL Pirandi, really showing just how hard that they're pushing around here, locking up quite a bit there in Sector 1. As these drivers have ran nose to tail throughout this entire race, the positions have just swapped ever so slightly. With this track being one of the hardest circuits to drive around throughout our calendar year here in BRL Formula 1, it would be no surprise here in the closing laps to see some mistakes being made by these drivers. In real life, the cockpits get over 140 degrees at this track, and the drivers get so hot and sweat so much that they lose upwards of 5 pounds during the race of body weight. And they get so hot, we've seen in the past years that Kimi Räikkönen actually has a tub in the back of the garage waiting for him, that as soon as he gets out of the car, he steps out of his suit and jumps into an ice bath to try to cool down his core temperature. I can tell you from experience that although we at home in our sim rigs are not dealing with the 140-degree temperatures, it is still hard to drive around this track, even for the 50% race that we hold weekly. This is one of the most challenging races these drivers will face all year long. They will be tired if they're on a sim rig after this race. Their arms will be tired after throwing the car around for 31 laps at this Marina Bay Street circuit. They will be sweating. If you're on a controller, you're going to be tired just from thinking about the movement of the car. You're going to be tired just making the way around the track, but quite a few of these guys on sim rigs. Chandler Cieta, I know, is one of them on a sim rig. He will definitely be tired whenever this race is over. Even if he finishes in first and he's happy with that, his arms will be like gelatin when this is over from throwing the wheel around so much. 23 turns make up this beautiful 3.1 mile circuit. Oh, as we see BRL Pirani have a big snap oversteer there on exit of 21. Easy to do. The curbing there kind of throws the car a little off of its axis, makes it a lot easier for the rear wheels to lose their grip and have something like that happen. But look at how quickly he's closing the gap. He's already made up 0.6 of a second on that gap that he had. So BRL Pirani has a lot of pace in that car, just has nowhere to go with it. Whoa. Hoopalicious is close to the back of Chandler, but not enough left in the battery to try to make a move. Battery ran dry there down the straightaway with about 200, 300 meters left before the braking zone. And Chandler still with plenty of battery yet to deploy. Chandler doing very well here in the second stint of this race on his hard compound tires. Haven't really seen him struggling for grip all that much. With 63% of battery life left in there to deploy through the ERS system, he is going to be able to defend rather easily. You see him turn on overtake there in fourth gear just to try to get that car to boost up speed a little quicker. That ERS system, when you turn it into overtake, adds a lot of extra brake horsepower to the rear wheels through that battery system that we now have on these hybrid cars. Hoopalicious still right there with Chandler, hanging out as he has been for the past 10 laps or so. Just less than a second behind, but nowhere to go with it. Go down and check on the rest of the field real quick. BRL Williams still losing time to the front runners, but he's pulling away from B-Dunk. #1 FinFan not able to catch B-Dunk, but he doesn't have Ryan catching him all that much either. Aus Formula in 8th. Not really going anywhere right now, but he is in front of this driver, Master Berserk, in 9th. And rounding out the points-paying positions is still RBM Mary, doing very well, in my opinion, locking up just a little bit there on entry as GSR Axe, I believe, just picked up a time penalty as he retires from the session. And Mean Fern has been past Deer Hunter now for a good while and has put Deer Hunter behind him by about 9 seconds. Deer Hunter not really too pacey here at this track tonight. Seems to be struggling a lot further off the pace than what he normally is. We see Deer Hunter off pace quite often in Tier 1, but it's only by a minute amount because everybody is so close to the front running time that he can be running 8th or 9th and still be only a couple hundredths of a second slower than the pole time. So unfortunate to see the Racing Point driver all the way in the back by himself. Really, this is going to just start to feel like a practice session here in the closing laps of this race. But Chandler still in the lead as they go under the bridge. But BRL Pirani has been able to catch up to the back of Hoopalicious. But BRL Pirani has been in this position before and he hasn't been able to make any moves. Will he be able to make something happen this time? Hoopalicious only 5/10 behind Chandler, but still nothing in the battery to deploy through the system. So not getting a whole lot of, oh, and he's picked up a 3-second time penalty. That's really going to hamper his time. We know that everybody on track currently has a time penalty, but I believe Chandler only has one. So that's going to give him a good 3-second gap over Hoopalicious once they cross the finish line. So a big moment took place there, which drops Hoopalicious off of Chandler just a little bit, and now sees BRL Pirandi in the Renault way down the order with wing damage to the left front of that Renault. This has spiced things up a bit. BRL Williams should be able to make the pass rather easily now on the damaged Renault, as we see him now catching up to the back of him. Hoopalicious is close to the back of Chandler, but he hasn't really tried to make a move yet, so we'll stay back here with BRL Williams and Pirandi to see where BRL Williams will try to get by. They come down around turn 5 and now onto Raffles Boulevard. He has DRS, he's got overtake turned on. Can he get close enough to make a move on the Renault? He's gonna try and go for it in the braking zone. He goes very, very deep. Oh, and the Renault tries to do an under-over, but it's not gonna work. BRL Williams is gonna take the position and see himself up into the podium places. We could see a Racing Point up on the podium today. What joy to see a Racing Point racing for the podium now. What a shakeup. I was just saying in the chat that this was becoming quite a parade, and then all of a sudden Contact makes this a totally different race here for third place. Now Hoopalicious right on the back of Chandler, but he still does not have any battery life left in that car. Has he used all the battery too early? Because Chandler still has over 60% of his battery left to deploy. Hoopalicious now only 4/10 back. He does not have BRL Pirandi back there to worry about. Could he do it this time by? He's very close to the back of that Alfa Romeo, and he gets even closer on entry into 1. They go through 2, now into 3. On exit, anybody getting wheel spin? No, they both have perfect traction. He uses overtake to stay as close as possible to the Alfa Romeo with a bit of a lock up there. That's gonna hurt him going down the straightaway. Now 5/10 back. Chandler should be able to hold on to this lead easily as they come into the braking zone. Hoopalicious just overdrove it into the corner there and really screwed himself out of a chance to try to make the turn, make that turn in before the Alfa Romeo did. Let's see if he's going to be able to catch up to the back of Chandler again to get by. Chandler really just a cork in the bottle up here at the front. It seems like Hoopalicious could go a little faster, but Chandler just deploying his ERS at just the right times to keep that Red Bull behind him. And there's a lot of lockup there through 13. Is the Red Bull going to try it this time around? No, the Red Bull's too far back, but he brings himself right back up to the gearbox of the Alfa Romeo, but the Alfa Romeo pulls away slightly to about a 3/10 lead, and he gets a big lockup as they go through that chicane coming up to the tunnel turn now, or excuse me, the bridge turn. They go under the bridge, and it really seems like Hoopalicious just isn't as good through this portion of the track as the car in front, which sets the car up in front very well to try to keep his lead. As we now see Hoopalicious, he'll get DRS this time again, as he has so often down this front straightaway. He brakes a lot later and is able to get a lot closer to the front, or excuse me, to the back of the Alfa Romeo. He gets a little bit of oversteer there on exit. That's going to hurt him. Here you go. He's got another chance on the very last lap of this race. Can he make it happen? He's too far back. He's not going to be able to get close enough to make a move on the Alfa Romeo, but now they begin to catch traffic. I believe that is Deer Hunter up in front of them. Will Deer Hunter become a factor in this race? The Alfa Romeo leads the Red Bull on the final lap through Sector 1. Will the Red Bull be able to get close enough and do anything about this man's lead? Chandler was running in third for the whole first stint of this race, boxed one lap earlier than everybody else, and just had a big mistake there that brought Hoopalicious right back up to him. Hoopalicious has got to try something this time around. Hoopalicious is right on the back of that car, but Chandler deploying overtake is going to have a decent run down here into the right-hander, but Hoopalicious having good grip in that car. Can he try to make a move here in the closing turns of the race? It seems like Chandler's starting to have issues keeping the Alfa Romeo on the racing line. Now has Hoopalicious right behind him. Hoopalicious with a bit of oversteer under the bridge. Will he be able to get to the back and challenge him down the front straightaway? He is right there. It is so close. 0.2 of a second now separate the two of them. Now 0.1 of a second as they make their way through the final turns. Chandler will take the win of this race, and Hoopalicious will come in behind him with that penalty, seeing him 3 seconds down from Chandler. But what a race to the line. BRL Williams now making his way through the final turn, will take third place and will get his podium for this race with a net gain of 3 positions. What a finish that was. We had quite a bit of a parade going on there, and then a big shakeup in the front 3 and almost a pass for the lead on the final lap. B-Dunk brings it home in 5th. Ryan brings it home in 6th place with a big net gain of 8 positions. Number 1 FinFan will bring it back in 8th as he gets passed at the line by Oss Formula due to time penalties. Master Berserk comes out of the final turn and he takes a provisional 9th. Mean Fern 30 seconds behind him means that Master Berserk should be able to hold on to 9th place rather well. Mean Fern on par here to take a point, the very last point in the championship that is available to the drivers on track right now. Mean Fern going through the final chicane. He now makes his way up to 22 and 23, flicks the car into the double apex turn for the very last time and puts it in the wall for good measure on exit. He will take home 10th place. Deer Hunter making his way underneath the bridge for the last time, comes out from underneath in 11th, and he's going to finish this race in 11th. There's no way he's going to be able to catch up to Mean Fern. Mean Fern had too large a gap. Deer Hunter flicks it into the final corner for the last time, and he's going to get squirrely and put it into the wall to end this race as well. So what a race we just witnessed. It started off dry, went to wet, and they were never off of the slick tires. Changed the conditions just a little bit, made it a little harder for the drivers out there, but Chandler and Alfa Romeo, with the pit strategy that Michael Schumacher would be happy with, sees himself up on the top step of the podium from 3rd to 1st in 1 lap from an awesome pit stop by the crew, sees himself holding on to that position and taking the win of this race, with Hoopalicious in 2nd and BRL Williams in the racing point with the new helmet this weekend, honoring a friend who had passed. Maybe that was some good luck for him, changing his helmet, bringing in the memory of a friend of this race, and he comes away with a podium, 3rd place for BRL Williams. And BRL Pirandi had an issue, and he'll take home 4th. B-Dunk in 5th, Ryan 6th, Oss Formula 7th, number 1 FinFan in 8th, Master Berserk in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is Mean Fern. Meanwhile, we'll attempt to get our drivers into the podium interviews here. Give me just a few minutes, and we will get them in here. So we've got the invites out to the drivers to try to come and join me for podium interviews. As they are waiting to join, we're going to talk about Ryan with his huge net position gain, starting last place in this race, able to make his way all the way up and finish in 6th place. A good result for the driver that started all the way down in 14th. So good on Ryan. Even though he wasn't able to do anything right in qualifying to put that lap together, he was able to put it together for himself during the race. We have had some drivers join the party, waiting on a few more as we are waiting on Hoopalicious now. Just waiting on Hoopalicious now. We'll go ahead and start the podium interviews. We'll start with BRL Williams. Williams, you told me earlier this week that you would be running a new helmet to honor a friend that had passed away. And we had mentioned that earlier on in the stream, and our prayers are with you and the family and friends, and we're, for your loss. But it seems like that new helmet change and, dedicating this race to that friend really just put a different driver in that car. You were on fire in the first stint, making up a lot of time on the front three. You were able to run them down, and then it just seemed like there might have been an issue with the car, or the conditions just weren't to your favor. And then you were able to bring it all the way back up into third place after Pirandi had an incident. Just walk us through that. How are you feeling after this race? Well, you had a great drive today, and a very, very good head on your shoulders, with everything that's happened this week, to show up and have a good race. Just congratulations to you to be on the podium tonight. A very, very good, solid drive from you. I'm very, very impressed and happy for you and your team, because you brought in the big points haul tonight. Deer Hunter, unable to score any points tonight, was running in the back the whole time, really just didn't have any pace in the car. Was there just something going on there in the Racing Point camp where one car was set up for one thing, or he just wasn't good here? Okay. Well, that's just something that I was wondering, but we really appreciate you coming in here and doing the interview. Let's move on now to Hoopalicious. Hoopalicious, you got the pole in the Red Bull. It looked like you were on par for a really good race, and then it all just went south at that pit stop. Chandler pitted one lap earlier than you and was able to make the undercut work, and then it just seemed like you were never able to get close enough to pass him. Just walk us through the frustrations that you must have felt later in the race. Yeah, I was talking earlier during probably around like lap 20 about just how hard it is to race around this track. Even on just a 50% race, drivers, even at home, are tired. Their arms get tired after about 20 laps here, because you're having to do so many steering corrections, so many steering inputs. Just walk us through the fatigue of the race. Were you getting really tired closer to the end? And you just sort of became complacent until there were about 2 to go?
Yeah, walk us through that tire phase real quick where it started raining. It came in very, very light. It took quite a long time for the dry line to develop out of the rest of the tarmac and the asphalt being wet. Was there ever a worry that it was going to get, damp enough on track to actually switch over to a treaded tire? Or did everybody just come in with the mindset that it was going to be slicks the whole way through it? Well, you took the Red Bull to pole today, and you came home with second just through pit strategy. So I would say today was a success, and you didn't lag out this week either. So, well, we appreciate you showing up. We appreciate your performance on track tonight, and congratulations on another solid P2 placing. But moving on to Chandler, the big guy, bringing home the win today. Really through what I believe was a good pit strategy call. Going in that one lap earlier promoted you all the way from third to first in the amount of one straightaway. You were able to overtake both other drivers that were running up front, and you never let go of that position. You were contested a couple of times, especially on that last lap. I thought it was going to get very dicey, but you were able to hold on to it. Walk us through the road to the win. Did that happen in turn? Did that happen on exit of turn 10? Because it seemed like you just really almost came to a stop there at the apex of 11. Well, you did get a good solid win today. You made the pit strategy work. We were talking earlier while everybody was still out on the mediums that, who was going to be the first driver to blink and go for that set of hards, which is better in the rain to be on. And then the rain just really subsided after about 7 laps after the pit stops, and it just became an all-out race to the finish line. But a great win today. Was there anything about this race that just really stood out to any of y'all? Well, if that's the case, I hope to see more mixed condition races because tonight's race was amazing to watch. BRL Formula One has always offered some of the best racing you'll ever find on Twitch. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, you need to do it now because you need to watch BRL racing every time it happens. It happens 5 times throughout the week. and it's one of the most amazing things that you will watch all week long. You can just quit watching real Formula One because it's not even worth it after you watch a couple of these races that we have here in BRL. So amazing to see the drivers that we have every week in Tier 1 especially. Some of them are top 50 in the world, if not almost all of them top 50 in the world at almost every track in time trial. So the fastest drivers in the world come here to race, and it really shows the potential that some of them have, especially in races like this one in mixed conditions. This was an amazing race to watch, and to watch an Alfa Romeo take the win yet again is nothing more than a treat. To watch a Ferrari engine take the win around Singapore. But it looks like this is going to be it for the night. So we're going to end this stream here in just a second. We want to thank everybody for turning out, and